A reporter over at Axios has been fired after referring to a press release from Governor Ron DeSantis' office as propaganda. Now, the press release came from DeSantis' Department of Education. You know, if you work in news, you tend to get emailed press releases all the time. I typically ignore them because they're all propaganda. Let's just keep it 100. But this one clearly hit a nerve. And I think it hit a nerve for obvious reasons. So the press release was about an event that was hosted by Ron DeSantis. According to the release, the event is titled "Exposing the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Scam in Higher Education." And it was all about how dangerous so-called critical race theory is, how dangerous diversity initiatives are. And here's what the press release said. These concepts are in no way inclusive and instead force exclusion and division within higher education and do not in any way contribute to learning or knowledge. As such, no funding from hardworking tax-paying Floridians, including the parents of higher education students, should be spent on these divisive initiatives. Well, Ben Montgomery, who was a reporter over at Axios, responded to the email, which is an interesting tactic. I usually don't do it, right? But he's like, no, I'm gonna respond to the email. Responds and just simply says that this is not a press release, this is propaganda. This afternoon, Tampa-based Axios journalist decided to respond to our press release with the below, and then you can see that there's a screenshot of the email where Ben Montgomery says this is propaganda, not a press release. Now, this afternoon, DeSantis's, by the way, press deputy, Jeremy Redfern, also replied to the tweet by asking, is this journalism? And apparently that pushback was enough to spook Axios because they're cowards and they decided to fire Montgomery. The Axios editor-in-chief said the following: "This reporter is no longer with Axios. Out of respect for our employees, we do not discuss conditions of departure." Let me decode that for you. Let me decode Sarah's statement there. We don't want to take ownership of our insanely cowardly actions here. And we don't want to take ownership of the fact that we're so terrified of Ron DeSantis and his staff that we decided to throw one of our own under the bus for stating the obvious truth in response to that press release email. That's my read of the situation. I could be wrong, or maybe you disagree, I don't know. RM, what do you think?
Oh yeah, Anna, you're definitely wrong on that one. This is very serious politics that Ron DeSantis is doing here. And how dare these Axios reporters say what we're all thinking? That's really what they got fired for, saying what everyone's thinking. Right. This is nonsense. This is a waste of everybody's time. Oh no, somebody told the truth. You know, I mean, you guys talk about this a lot on the Young Turks, that a lot of these old school organizations, they're kind of trapped in the past or something. And it's like, they stated the obvious to me.
Yeah, 100%. And look, part of it is wanting access to elected officials. And so if you offend an elected official, the worry is, if you reach out for comment or for an interview, you won't get a response. But I don't know, I would venture to say it's more important to be honest to your readers, to your viewers, than to get a big get, which I guess in this case would be Ron DeSantis, or to have access to Ron DeSantis's office. Ben Montgomery, the now fired Axios reporter, says, some personal news. I made crepes this morning for the first time in years, strawberry compote and whipped cream. They were delicious. So he's being a good sport about it. But I think you're exactly right. The incentives to be a muckraker or a truth teller, a real journalist, don't exist in corporate media. They just don't. And so if we're talking about independent media where you don't have to worry about the old way of doing things, I guess, things are a little different. Like, we don't really care about sucking up to anyone because we're not really that concerned with having some politician on the show. The politician should want to come on our show. There's a giant progressive audience that they would have access to if they were willing to come on, right? If politicians are hurt when we accurately report what they're up to, then they can go ahead and be hurt by it. I'm not gonna lie to my audience or provide cover for them so they feel good about themselves as I lie to the audience about what they're really up to. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, and I think the aesthetic of politeness, in these kind of organizations is like very old-timey too. Like, I think people are really attracted, or people are they're more drawn to what you guys do, where it's like, look, this is how we feel. This is, we're not trying to hold back or do some kind of old school polite journalism thing. This is how we feel about it. This is it, and that's what you get. And also, like you were saying, they might be concerned about getting not getting a Ronnie DeSantis. What is he, Meatball Ron now? I mean, have you ever watched an interview with that guy? Oh my God, it's like
super charismatic.
Let's just say he's not. Oh my God, he's the George Clooney of politics. Many call him. I mean, oh my God, yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
No.
He definitely doesn't have it. Okay, so I think they'll be okay with not getting a Ron DeSantis interview.
It is also great to see the right wing really staying true to their anti-cancel culture beliefs and messages, because here we have a reporter who got fired as a result of offending the right wing, right wingers in power. And I'm sure that they're very upset about this. I'm sure that they're demanding that Axios reinstate this reporter. Of course they're not doing that because they love cancel culture as long as they're the ones who get to do it.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.